Hey everyone, so I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, and while I was at VidCon, I had the utmost honor of being on a panel that was about LGBT YouTubers. I was joined by Tyler Oakley, Hannah Hart, Jenna from Lesbian Answers, and Davey Wavy. They were all very lovely people. And one of the questions that was asked during the panel was, as a bisexual individual, do I feel like I don't really have a home or like a community to really call my own? And I thought it was a really interesting question. It's something that I get asked from time to time. And I answered it at the panel, but I thought, like, I'm going to make a video on this. And then after the panel, another person came up to me and asked me the same kind of thing. And I thought, you know, I'm definitely going to make a video on this. And then after my dating video yesterday, I asked you guys to send in your advice topics for Dear Meg, and 2 people sent me in questions about bisexuality and community. And so I thought, you know what, I need to do this video right now. So here it is. So like I said, the people who joined me on the panel were 2 gay males and 2 lesbian females, and calling people male and female seems so clinical. It's a little weird. But I was the only person who belonged to, I think on the panel they actually called them like minority groups, which is weird. But bisexuals, transgendered, people who identify as queer, there are lots of different terms and labels that people use, don't really have a very strong community. And a lot of bisexuals in particular feel like they don't have a community to call their own because people who are gay don't really count them as one of their own, and people who are straight don't really count them as one of their own. So they're in between. We're in between. It's kind of weird. So I'm going to talk a lot about the bisexual experience. This is all about bisexuality, only because I know it, because that's who I am. It's not really who I am, it's what my sexual orientation is. And so there are lots of different other groups out there, like I said, trans, queer, who also don't have communities. This might speak to you in more broad overtones. I can just only speak to the experience that I have, so that's why I'm tackling just focusing on bisexuality. So one of the questions I get asked, first of all, is how do you deal with people who say that bisexuality isn't a real thing? And I hear this all the time, and it breaks my heart. I hear it mostly from people who say, I tried to come out to my parents and they told me bisexuality isn't real, or I tried to tell my friends that I'm bisexual and they tell me I'm confused, or that it's a phase, and it's such a bummer. And the thing that really bums me out is it's not just from people who are heterosexual, it's from people who are gay as well. I've had many a lesbian friend tell me that there's kind of this rule of thumb that lesbians have, that some lesbians have, where you don't date a girl who says she's bisexual because bisexual girls are actually just biding their time until they meet a dude, and she's gonna break your heart and leave you for some guy when she meets one. And that's such a bummer because that's not true. Like, that's not our sexuality or my sexuality isn't something that I'm just biding my time until I find a member of the opposite sex. And it's such a bummer. It's so frustrating to have someone tell you, like, what you feel is not real, or what you feel doesn't exist, or I get a lot, you're just doing it for attention. A lot of bisexual girls in particular get that a lot, and it's so frustrating. And the effect it has is it ends up making people who are bisexual wary of other people who say they're bisexual, and it's such a problem. I wish I could, put a magical band-aid on people's past experiences with prejudice and make it better, but I can't. But what I can say is that I have seen a lot of bisexual people, girls, mostly girls, and I say that because that's the experience I've had, but I have seen personally a lot of bisexual girls who feel like they've had to deal with a lot of ridicule through their lives by saying that they're bisexual, who see other girls who are bisexual and say, or who claim to be bisexual, I guess, and say things like, you're not a real bisexual. You're just doing it for attention. And they do the same things that people do to them, and it's such a bummer. Like, don't do that. We have so few of us to huddle around in a little fire blanket. And so I think probably the problem lies with us, as well as people who are unaccepting of our sexuality, and on both sides, on the gay side and on the straight side. And so don't, and my advice to people who are bisexual is don't assume that somebody's doing something for attention, or that it's not real because you've had to deal with people saying that to you. Like, you didn't like when someone said it to you, so don't say it to someone else. And to the people who are gay or straight or whatever, bisexuality is a real thing. There are men and women out there who get to like both men and women. It's not a phase. It's not something to be confused about. It's not something that, you know, you just do for a while and then you go back to this or that. It's real. And there are people out there who really do feel that way. So be respectful. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I do feel like we have a lack of community. I feel like I said already that it's partly our own fault sometimes, and we have to stand united. And to the people out there who have sent me letters, or even if you haven't sent me a letter and you are gay or bisexual or whatever under the sun that you are, and you feel like you need someone to talk to, there are so many great services to reach out to. The Trevor Project has been immensely helpful for a lot of gay and questioning youth, and I absolutely recommend, if you have any problems, you feel like there isn't someone you can talk to reach out to them. School counselors are amazing, unless they're bigoted assholes, in which case call the Trevor Project. Tweet me. I feel a little bad because, and it's kind of weird, I feel a little conflicted, I guess, because I never really had to deal with a lot of prejudice when I was growing up about my bisexuality. I kind of just always was bisexual. I mean, I noticed guys at the same time as I noticed girls. And I've had people ask, like, how do you know you're bisexual? I just did. I just grew up knowing. I noticed boys at the same time as I noticed girls, and when my girlfriends were like, oh, we like boys, we should practice kissing, I was like, jackpot. And that's kind of, how I knew. And I never had people be really outwardly mean to me very much. It definitely happened. There were still a lot of the sly, oh, sure, you're just doing it for attention. A lot nowadays. I get a lot more nowadays, now that I'm out on SourceFed, and I get a lot of snarky comments that are like, God, Meg, we get it, you're bisexual, like, stop shoving it down our throats. Like, if I make any comment about thinking a girl's attractive, or, like, talking about which female celebrities I think are attractive, people come out of the woodwork to be like, using her sexuality again, because she doesn't have anything else to offer. And it's so frustrating, because if I say something about Charlie Hunnam being hot, or, any guy, nobody really says anything, but it's when I say something about girls, they're like, brr, 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 brr. And to that, I say a resounding fuck you. I can like whoever I want and think whoever I want is hot, and it's a bummer. I definitely also get people who tell me, like, that they've been kind of cut down, that people are like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, that it just bums me out when I feel like there are people who aren't accepted, and that sucks. I also had something else that I was like, oh, I get that a lot now that I'm older. I get quizzed a lot about my sexual history with girls. That's not okay. I get it a lot on SourceFed and on SourceFed Nerd, and as I've gotten older, a lot of people have done that, and so that's really uncool. Don't do that to someone. Don't say, like, oh, you like girls? You ever fucked a girl? You're not really lesbian if you've not fucked a girl. You're not really bi if you haven't fucked a girl. That's so disgusting. Like, it's so disgusting. Like, if I said, like, no, I'm straight, like, someone would be like, you sucked a dick? Not straight unless you sucked a dick. Like, that's the weirdest, creepiest thing. I get it all the time. And don't do that to people. And to the people who get that, don't humor those people with a response. It's, ugh. And then the last thing, I definitely was like, in my car driving home, like, I'm gonna do that bisexuality vlog. Little tip for the straight fellas, because this is my experience. I'm sure on the flip side it happens as well. Straight men. Hi, how you doing? What's going on? Looking good today. If a girl tells you she's bisexual, I hate to break this to you. Are you sitting down? Doesn't mean she wants to have a threesome with you. That's not what bisexuality, it doesn't automatically qualify you for threesomes. That's, all the time. I get guy friends who don't know better, and I just want to, knock them upside the head a little bit, who are like, oh, you like girls? So, ever brought a girl in the bedroom? Again, you're asking me about my sexual history, and that's so weird. So, yeah, I feel like I kind of went on a rant there about different things that happen to people who are bisexual, but that's okay. Bottom line being, love who you are, accept who you are, be honest about who you are, whether you're straight, gay, trans, queer, plus, whatever, and I love you, and we're going to have a moment. You ready? It happened. It's our moment. I think the most important thing is just being solid in who you are, and sometimes that's hard. I completely get that. There are so many times when people will say things about my bisexuality that I just want to like tear my hair out and be like, screw you, you don't know anything about me. But you know, you have to just keep on keeping on because you are who you are. And most importantly, and Hannah Hart said this at the panel, and it's so, so true, your sexuality is just who you like. It's not who you are. So don't let it define who you are. Just, you like who you like, and that's what your sexuality is. So at the end of the day, if somebody you know, is shitty toward that, they're not being shitty toward who you are as a person. They're being shitty toward who you choose to love. And while that's shitty, it's not who you are all encompassing. Okay, I love you guys, and I will see you later. Okay, mwah.